Okay. Now we're going to plot these on a grid so that we can actually see what this looks like. Now, what's the problem with graphing this the way it is? Do you know how to graph radical 2 over 2? What is radical 2 over 2? So let's write that down. I'm going to write it over here. Radical 2 over 2, we need the decimal. Okay, so I'm going to use the calculator. The square root of 2 divided by 2, 0.707, right? And then radical 3 over 2, we need that one also. So let's see what we get there. .866. Okay. So as we go through and graph, we need to keep these numbers in mind and remember our decimals. Okay. So here's my grid I'm using. Okay. I'm going to try to fit it all. See if you can see it. Okay. So this is 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, all the way up. And I put in my pi over 6 up to 2 pi. Notice the spacing. Why do you think that happened? Because remember on our unit circle, it goes 30, 15, 15, 30, 30, 15, 15, 30. So that's why it's like that. I made this the best I could, so it's going to be a little off, but we're going to do our best. All right, so this is our 30 degrees. Sine of 30 was point. That was our point, or 0 actually. 0, 0. Pi over 6 was 1/2, so we're going to go up to a half. Pi over 4 was my radical 2 over 2. That was 0.707, so I'm going to go up to 0.7. Okay. Radical 3 over 2, that was our 0.866. So I'm going to go up to 0.8½. And finally, pi over 2 was 1. Now notice that if you look in your chart, it's the same decimals. So all our other decimals are going to be the same. So I'm going back down. Remember, it goes up and then back down. So back down. So radical 3 over 2, 0.707, a half, and then 0. Okay. So that's half of the cosine curve. Now I'm going to do the other half. Can you see what I'm doing? Okay, so I'm going to do my best to graph so you can see. All right, so my 7 pi over 6, it's the same thing. I'm going negative a half, though. So negative 0.5, negative 0.7, negative 0.866, negative 1, and then back. 0.866, 0.707, 0.5, and 0. Okay. So I have all these dots, and then I'm just going to connect the dots. Hey, this is pretty good. I normally make a disaster of this, but it came out pretty good. And that's it. That's what the main graph of sine looks like. Okay? All right, now we're going to do the same thing, but with cosine. Okay? All right, let's fill in our cosine chart. All right, cosine of 0 is 1. Cosine of 30 is radical 3 over 2. Radical 2 over 2. 60 was our half. 90 is our 0. Remember, these are our x values. So we started at 1, we came down to 0. Then what happens on the unit circle? Cosines are x values, right? So we went to 0. Now what's happening to our x? They're going down to negative 1, right? So we're going to continue down to negative 1. So negative, wait, did I do something wrong? Oh, no, negative a half, negative radical 2 over 2, negative radical 3 over 2, to negative 1, right? Because this is really smallest to biggest. 0.5, 0.7, 0.866. So we got down to negative 1. Now we come back to 0. Right? Negative radical 3 over 2. Negative radical 2 over 2. Negative a half. 0. And then we go back up to 1. 1/2. Radical 2 over 2. Radical 3 over 2. 1. Right? So that's our table for cosine. We're going to do the same thing, plot the same points on the grid. I can't do double this time, so you're just gonna have to pay attention. All right, so cosine of 0 this time is